Today we're wrapping up this is the fifth installment of our Acts2 journey that we've been on for the last 4 weeks. Going to make it 5 today. And what this is about is kind of laying out some things that myself and our vision team want to see take place for our church. If you want to go back and catch up on all of these, I encourage you to do that. Go to our church website, click on sermons. They're all there. Easiest way is if you got a smartphone to download the Church Center app, and there's a recent sermons tab right on there, easy to get to. But this is so exciting for me because as I finish April, and as I finish May, I will wrap up my 4th year of pastor here at New Life Assembly and start my 5th year. And there has been a lot of things that have happened here. And hopefully I do make it to June 1st of 2023. And if I do, I will have reached my 5-year plan. Not get fired. I will have reached that. So I'm a little cautious. No, I'm just kidding. But listen, things have sped up here at this church in the last 18 months, far faster than I anticipated them to go. And a lot of that is because of what God is doing in you. And so I'm hoping that today would just kind of solidify that for you. So we've talked about vision. We've talked about core values, kind of gave a overview of what things were about with this. And thank the Lord, this is my last day preaching from a binder. I don't know how pastors do it. I need my iPad back. But today we're going to move on to our church dream statements. Anyone in here have dreams that you still want to do, that you still want to accomplish? Yeah, I'm not talking like bad dreams or anything. So some of you are like, oh, my bad. But understand this. One thing that we've talked about during Acts 2 is that we can't allow our memories to be bigger than our dreams. Great things have happened, but we can't allow that to be bigger than what we're dreaming ahead. So today I'm going to share with you 5 we dream of a church statements that our vision team has come up with. And at the end of today's message, you're going to have an opportunity to decide, is this what you want to be a part of moving forward? So we pull everything that we're talking about today, all of our vision, all of our core values, have come out of two specific passages of Scripture. Both written in red, amen? Both the words of Jesus. Acts 1:8 says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all of Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." The other statement that we have looked at through this is Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. "Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." So as we talk about these statements, as we talk about vision and core values and such, we kept this at the center. Does that sound like a good thing to keep at the center as we're planning these things out? That seems really good. The words of Jesus, what he did for the first church and still continues, and the Great Commission that he gave the disciples that then is passed on down to us. So first we looked at... Can we real quick throw up the Acts 2 journey logo graphic? I think that's there somewhere. I think that we can get that. Yeah, that one there. So kind of just to remind you, this Acts 2 journey centers out of worship being at the core. Worship being at the middle. And out of that comes the other 4 areas: grow, connect, go, and serve. Those are the other 4 areas that stem out of worship that we're talking about. And so as we looked at those areas, we said, okay, what kind of a church would we dream of with connect? And we said this: we dream of a church where people are welcoming, friendly, and willing to do life together. Can you get on board with that? I see a lot of people shaking their head. That's the kind of church that we as the vision team said that we dream of this. Now, easier said than done, because there's some things that come with it. Increased fellowship activities. Some of these have already started. Kind of goes into what I said a moment ago, that if you're someone that's like, well, I don't know anybody in the church, nobody, talks to me, nobody reaches out to me. Well, listen, that's a two-way street, y'all. Can I just tell you that right now? That is a two-way street. To be connected with people is a two-way street. We had some people on this team that would certainly tell you that they are introverted, that they are quiet, that they're not going to be front and center, but we knew that we needed them on this team to really help us to move through this. So as we look at being a church that's welcoming, friendly, and willing to do life together, we know that increased fellowship activities is part of it. Second Sunday lunches. This is one of the things that have already started with this. Our men's and women's events that we do. These are going to be increased opportunities for us to connect together, for us to make sure that we get to know people. I am still taken back to October of last year when we held our church cookout and gun shoot. In all of my years involved in church, since 2000, I have never seen an event with that percentage of people to come out to. We were probably 85 to 90% of who was here on Sunday made their way out to the Robinson land that day for that event. I've never seen anything like that before. Many of us would echo the very same thing. That's part of connecting and doing things together. So we will see more all-church events such as that one, such as some game nights. I know we had to get one rescheduled. Outreach opportunities are other events that also go to help with another area, but those are events that can draw us together. Expand our social media presence. Now, some of you are anti-social media, and that's fine. I get that. You are welcome to have that opinion, okay? But please do not hate on me or the rest of us if we find this to be a good tool to reach people. Watch this. How many of you found us on social media or YouTube before you ever stepped foot through this door? Can you raise your hand? So, if you're anti-social media or anti-online, zip it. Okay? Because it's working. We are seeing people who are finding out about New Life Assembly because of our social media presence. Now, here's one thing that is going to begin to happen, and for some of you, this might be, if you're like, man, if only there was a spot for me, if only there was somewhere I could go. Because part of this increased social media presence that we want to have is having a social media director, a social media leader that first name doesn't start with B and ends in ill. Okay? Just trying to drop a hint there. So if social media is your thing and you're like, I love social media, and if this is, because listen, as we grow, so will my responsibilities. And I don't mind managing things now, but we're going to need someone at some point to start managing this for us. This also means having someone to gather pictures of what a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night looks like at New Life Assembly every single week to be able to take pictures, a few pictures of people standing, greeting one another, a few pictures during worship, some of the kids' room, some of after, and just 4 or 5 pictures each week to put online to kind of give people an idea of what the life is like here at New Life Assembly, and hopefully that they would attend there. And if you are on Facebook or Twitter, share. If you see the post, stop ignoring it, would you? Okay? I know some of you just ignore the New Life Assembly post and just move on, okay? I get the analytics back to see that. No, I'm just kidding. But if you see it, why not tap the like or the love button and then hit the share button and just put it out there so that more and more people will be able to see New Life Assembly come across their news feed. And eventually they're going to be like, okay, what is up with this church if they don't have one? So we know that those 3 things are going to help us to be a church that we dream of, a church where people are welcoming, friendly, and willing to do life together. The next area that we looked at, third one being intentional welcoming of guests. I've seen something happening recently. I've seen people coming early, and I've seen people staying late. Some of y'all stay too late. It's been an hour, I want to go home. So finally I'm just like, okay, I'm going to lock the door, you guys just turn lights on. No, but all of that helps with the intentional welcoming of guests, okay? And let me give you an idea that you should keep to yourself, okay? I'm not saying that there wasn't a time that it was good, but now's not the time. Well, Pastor, we should take some time out of service to turn around and greet someone and shake someone's hand and walk around. No, we should not, okay? Now, I know some of you love that and that's your jam, but that's just not the way that some people operate today. And we want to stay focused on things, but whenever you see them after service, you can be sure to go up and to introduce yourself to them. And understand this. Visiting a church for the first time should not feel like an interrogation. Okay? Where are my introverts at? You're like, we're not raising our hands. I know how that is, right? You're like, no, we don't need to be interrogated in this. So we're not trying to say that, but just to introduce ourselves to them and to just be genuine about it. And here's something important. Remember their name. You're like, oh, Pastor, there are just too many people to remember. I'm about to give away a trick publicly. I've got names written down on here. And I've got some sort of a note that says who they came with or what their situation is or whatever that makes me look like a total genius. You guys are like, oh, look at our pastor. He's so spiritual, carrying his Bible around before service. Amen. Lord bless him. He's saying, okay, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. I don't mind giving away my tricks. All right? But how many of you, that second time or that third time that you came, you were blown away because somebody remembered your name, right? Listen, this is almost like Cheers. If you're under 35, you're like, okay? We want everyone to know our name, okay? We want people to join our connections team. Now, this has kind of went by the wayside a little bit. We're in the process of ramping some things back up. We're working on a new info desk that I met with a couple people this week, and they're going to get it built for us, and we're going to have it right over there instead of just a table that sits there that collects all kinds of junk. But we're going to want to do that. We're going to need to reestablish our greeters at the door. We're going to need to reestablish some of those things. So pay attention to your emails for whenever those things begin to come out. And if you're like, well, I don't get your emails, it's probably because that first time that you came, you never filled out that Connect card. And you've been coming for 2 months and you're like, why don't I get the church emails? Because you still haven't filled out the card. It's been 2 months. Fill it out, please. So we want to have all of those things happening so that we can be a church that's welcoming, friendly, willing to do life together. Let's talk about grow a little bit. We dream of a church that is committed to biblical mentoring of all believers. This is the discipleship side of things. Generational mentoring is one thing that was huge, and it was something that was brought up in our very first time that we talked about. Okay, if we want to be a church that wants a disciple, then we need to make sure that generational mentoring is part of that. Men leading boys, women leading girls. We want to be a part of doing that when it comes under this generational mentoring side of things. We want to see older couples investing in younger couples. Listen, one thing that I put on Facebook this past week is that why do I feel that Amy and I can be where we are? Because whenever we were very early married, I don't even know if that's proper. If you're an English major, leave me alone. But there were two couples that invested in us so much. Mark and Laura Morris, Terry and Melissa Williams. They invested into us so much. They have been married for decades. And so I'm telling those of us that we've got 20, 30, 40 years under our belts. Those of you that are newly married within the last few years or going to be married, trust me, connect with an older couple that has been doing it a long time, that loves Jesus. It's going to change the way that you deal with some things. That's what we want to see with generational mentoring, is making sure that from one generation to the next, that biblical truths, biblical principles, Christ-like ideas are being passed on for generation to generation. We also want to see some expanded life group opportunities. We're beginning to see life groups really pick back up again for us. I just talked with some people last week and they're like, so listen, here's how I work. You come to me with an idea. The first thing that we're thinking about is, does it fit Reach, Love, Lead? Okay, yeah, that fits Reach, Love, Lead. And then I hear a lot of people saying, well, we should do this and we should do that and we. And just so you know, I'm going to clarify. We means you, right? Okay? We means you, right? Because if you think that we means me, you got it wrong. Because if that's an idea that you brought, then you're going to have some skin in the game with that. And as I was talking with someone a week or two ago, and they were talking about this different life group and stuff, I loved it. And they will tell you that I said, so by we, you mean you, right? And like, well, yeah, but we're going to need you to help us and guide us. Perfect, I'm here for that. But we're going to see some of those expanded life group opportunities take place. One of them just finished up on a Tuesday. There's another one that happens monthly. So we will see more and more of these. The expanded life group opportunities, how does that happen? Number one, it takes leaders. Number two, it takes hosts. It takes people to lead life groups. If it's going to be based within a home, it takes someone to be able to host. So then if you're one of those people where you love having people over and you love having snacks and you love having goodies and all of those things, you may make a great host. And then having leaders that are going to lead life groups. Some are going to be things that come directly out of here. Some are going to be book-based. Some are going to be life-based. Some are, in a sense, the grief share that's taking place now is a form of a life group. It's people who have something similar in life getting together for 13 weeks, and they're going to share those things. So we want to see those expanded things happening. We got to make sure that they fit our mission, and we got to understand that they all may not be faith or Bible-driven, but it falls under biblical mentoring. How many of you know that I can mentor someone who is a new Christian by just modeling for them what a Christian man should look like and live? I don't necessarily have to sit down with them on a Bible study every single Thursday and go over something. Also, purposeful discipleship training. This is a little bit part of what we do on Wednesdays. There's a discipleship factor to what we do on Wednesdays. We're also beginning, this we includes me. We are also beginning to talk about some discipleship material. Some discipleship material that can walk people through purposeful discipleship training. And as additional responsibilities come up for this church, as this church grows, I'm going to need to call on other men and women to lead Wednesday night, to lead men's group, to lead a discipleship training course for 6 weeks. I'm going to need to be able to call on people to do that. It's not all going to be by myself. And finally, building up leaders and teachers for discipleship. That's all going to help us to be a church that is committed to biblical mentoring of all believers. Next, we look at the serve section. We dream of a church with opportunity for people to discover their abilities so they can strengthen the kingdom of God. These are statements that we put together, and the one factor that we didn't have in any of this was funding. If you go back and you talk about vision, if finances dictate vision, vision will never get to where it's supposed to go. Vision will always suffer if finances are dictating it. Not that we don't have to have wisdom, but all of these things that we said, we never talked about funding. So how can we dream of a church with opportunity for people to discover their abilities so they can strengthen the kingdom of God? Ministry shadowing. Ministry shadowing. Recently, there was an email that went out to say, hey, if you're interested in streaming, if you're interested and you're involved with Planning Center in one way or another, and you want to learn more about that, if you want to help the church with some of our graphics and creativity, and you want to learn Canva, come to these trainings that are happening. Right now, Steve and Kathy are putting some training together that's going to be coming up on the 23rd, is that right? 23rd, you're going to be hearing about it this week. Some ministry training that's going to be coming up so that kids leaders, nursery workers, toddler workers can feel equipped to have everything that they need, and ministry shadowing is part of that. Understanding who do I need to connect with, what do I need to do, who do I need to watch in order to be able to learn. A lot of that sounds like many of you in your workplaces, whether you're still working or you're retired. When you first started, if it was a good process, you probably shadowed someone for a while. If not, you were thrown into the deep end and be like, there, swim. Don't break anything. And so we're not trying to necessarily do that. We know that we can better help people serve if we can do some gifts or serve assessments. What are some giftings that you may have? And we're working on actually redeveloping some of the assessments that we've used in Growth Track. We want to redevelop these so that we can use them intentionally for people who want to serve. What are your giftings? Where might it work best for you? Understand this is that everyone is a 10 somewhere. You hear me? Everyone is a 10 somewhere. Some of you will find that something that you enjoy doing may not be something that you're really good at, and you may not even be a 10 at it. Okay? For instance, I enjoy golfing. I am terrible. Okay? I am terrible at it, but I enjoy it. I'm not a 10 in golfing, so I'm not giving anybody lessons except to say, well, just keep coming and keep trying. How long have you been doing this? Since 99. Like, yeah. Everyone is a 10 somewhere. We got to find where that 10 is going to be. Also, understand that gifts and desires change over time. Something that maybe you enjoyed doing 10 years ago, it may not be such an enjoyment now. Desires change over time. So it's not one of these things where we want someone to feel stuck everywhere that they are. We also want to create some additional areas for serving. Now, with that, I'll also say that there are plenty areas to serve and to get involved. And so it's not that we have to make some for you to get involved, but that as we grow, there's going to be other ministry areas that need to be added into. And so we will have those additional areas for serving. One that really comes to mind right now that we really need, and hopefully I'm going to have someone talk to me about social media when this is done, and hopefully I'm going to have someone talk to me about groundskeeping. To be able to have someone that is committed to the groundskeeping of, now, I'm not talking about mowing and those things, we've got that done, but there's trimming of bushes, there's times for mulch, There's trash trucks that come and pick up the trash and they turn the wrong way even when you called them the week before to not turn that way because you're going to leave a rut, and guess what? They left a rut. So, we're going to have to get that fixed. And some of those other different things. So that is an area right now that if we had someone that would be committed to it, making sure that things are picked up around the church, all of us should be doing our part to pick up trash. Amen? But there's some other things where if someone would be able to step up and say, hey, that's what I want to do, but understand that when you are the point person on something, it needs to have the same attention and the same commitment as your job does. Not very many amens on that one. So that when you say something that you're going to do it and you're going to carry it through. See, some people want to get involved in some things at church, but they want to make it like priority number 17 on their list. It needs to be given the same as our involvement with our work. When that's good. Some of you, I don't want that same involvement now that I think about it. I don't want that same attitude that you take for work. But for most of us, that's what we're wanting to see. And other directors and coordinators that need to be developed, need to be trained as needs dictate. So we dream of a church with opportunity for people to discover their ability so they can strengthen the kingdom of God. Let's talk about go. Let's talk about the evangelism. We dream of a church that is sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit, who equips us to lead a lifestyle of evangelism. One of the things that you will begin to see happen is some evangelism coaching. Myself trying to put together a team of some people that can help with evangelism. We're not just saying going and serving somewhere, but real evangelism that is committed to knowing what to do, what to say, when not to say it, in some of those different areas, maybe at work, maybe street ministry, maybe something else there. But coming up with some of these different tools to be able to share our faith at work, to share faith students at school, to share faith whenever it is age appropriate. There's just a different way that you're going to have to reach fourth graders than you're going to have to reach someone newly married. There's just a much different way so finding out how all of those things need to be done. We believe that through this evangelism portion and being a church that's sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit to lead us in a lifestyle of evangelism is emphasis on mission trips. We want to begin to be able to put together some mission trips, both stateside, both overseas, but not to do it just to check it off of a list, but to be purposeful with it, to be ministry minded with it, to make sure that it's going to be something not that just makes us feel better about ourselves, but something that we want to really be part of. And we're going to begin to see that happen because as we go back and we look in Matthew chapter 28, Jesus talks about go and make disciples to the ends of the earth. And many of us need to be able to do that whenever time allows. So we want to see an emphasis on mission trips, and we want to see more community engagement. Outreach opportunities that we want to be able to see. Some of you have served at Mission on Main Street in Collinsville, and that is a great way to be able to serve and a great area to serve in that. We're going to begin to see some other local outreaches and different things taking place to just keep us involved in our community. To make sure that, because listen, unless you're new here, you may not know that a lot of people don't know where we are. Okay? And until I find something else, if someone struggles to find out where we are, I will continue to use a bar as a point of reference. Okay? As we have more community involvement, people are going to begin to understand who we are, where we are, what's going on with our church. And I think civic involvement is important as well. How are you getting involved in things happening within your community? Are you showing up for community days? Are you getting involved in some areas from a civic standpoint that you could now? Not everybody's called for that, I get that. Also, coaching sports or sponsoring sports. If you're a business owner, are you sponsoring some local sports teams? Are you being a part of it? And it may be years down the road until someone says, hey, you sponsored my kids' baseball team, and I didn't know that you went to church here. So are we coaching? Are we getting involved? Are we sponsoring? Are we going out to serve our communities in order to be a church that focuses on evangelism? And finally, worship, the very center one. We dream of a church where worship encompasses an authentic, Spirit-filled transformation. An authentic, Spirit-filled transformation. Emphasis on Spirit-led services. That we want to make sure that we have a great emphasis, that we are staying sensitive to the Holy Spirit. Now, what that means is some days we may get done at 11:57, and other days we may get done at 12:17. I'm not bound by the clock, I'm bound by the work of the Holy Spirit. That we have an emphasis on Spirit-led services, that we're trying to get out of Holy Spirit's way, to let Him do what He wants to do, to let Him move how He wants to move, to let Him go about doing whatever it is that He wants to do. But that we come expecting Holy Spirit to move. Listen, if we began to be a church where all of us that morning just woke up and had an attitude and had a prayer of, God, I'm expecting you to move today. God, I'm expecting for the altars to be full today. God, I'm expecting healings today. God, I'm expecting transformation today. God, I'm expecting hearts to be changed today. You're going to begin to see things ramp up in the Spirit around here if we all come together with the same attitude. The book of Acts put it, they were all in one accord. To come expecting and to step out with giftings that God gives us. Some of the giftings in 1 Corinthians 12, 1 Corinthians 14 that He gives us for the edification, for the building up, for the encouragement of the local church. We're going to see those things happen and to move. Is there a word of wisdom? Is there a word of prophecy? Are there tongues and interpretation? Are there any of those things? Because understand that God is not weird, people are. There is no need, when we talk about Spirit-led services, that they be spooky-pooky services. There's no need for that. I am telling you right now, there is no need for anybody to cluck like a chicken or bark like a dog during a service. And if you've been around that, you know what I'm saying. I'm going to tell you what I firmly believe. One question. Whenever I get to heaven, I'm asking somebody, how often did God facepalm Himself? When people did things and gave God credit for. And He's like, whoa. We don't have to do those weird, crazy things. We're still going to have those movements where the Holy Spirit is moving in this place. But you've heard me... Many of you have heard me say this. If not, Pentecost should draw people closer to God, not have them running for the door. I've been in some services where I'm like, get me out of here. Come on, Pastor. Go ahead and pray and close your eyes. I'm bouncing. I've been in those services. So come expecting great things. Part of worship that we begin is going to happen is sacrificial giving. This is already happening. Some of these things that we talk about, they're not yet happening and they're going to, but this one's already happening. We are seeing sacrificial giving taking place. That's only going to get better and to get more. If you didn't know, but this past week, New Life Assembly passed the $5,000 mark for the Fire Bible giving, and we still got 6 months to go. That is amazing. That is amazing. You guys, last week, we heard, or 2 weeks ago, or last week, or sometime, we heard that over $900 came in for BGMC in 1 month. Last year, it was a little over $700. That's sacrificial giving. That's crazy giving. And we're going to begin to see more of that happening so that we can continue on with vision, and God's going to make sure that the provision comes. We're not going to look at the provision to set the vision, but set the vision and believe God for the provision. That's what we're going to believe is going to happen. And we're also going to see nights of prayer and worship happening as well. This actually started last October, our nights of prayer, but we will soon be able to incorporate worship into these nights as well. And you're like, well, what's holding you back right now? People. We will see these nights of worship happen as we begin to maybe have the positioning to be able to have 2 or 3 different worship teams, to be able to have multiple keyboard players, multiple guitar players, multiple drummers, because our worship team puts in a lot of work, church. For a church where they come and they are not stipend, they do not get anything, they are here oftentimes during the week for a couple hours. They're the first ones here on Sunday morning, worship, media, trying to make things happening. I want to be cautious of the mentality of our volunteers, but we know that down the road, part of worship with authentic Spirit-filled transformation is going to be nights of worship as well that are going to happen. For now, we can come together and we can pray. And we are going to come and to set those days regardless of how many people come up. But if we want to be this church, we are going to have to keep prayer, the focus, and prayer, the emphasis. Now, here's the part of this vision. To be fully implemented, we believe this is going to be 2 to 3 years from today. To fully implement all of these different things that we have, we believe that this is going to be 2 to 3 years to fully incorporate, to fully implement. Now, hopefully that doesn't deter you. Hopefully that doesn't kind of take the wind out of your sails. Hopefully it tells you, good, I've still got time to get involved. I've still got time to be a part of what's happening, so that in 3 years, 4 years from now, we start talking about, hey, remember that series back in 2022 when Pastor was sharing this vision about them? Look at what has happened now. But we've got to be ready to take this journey together. We as a church have to be solid and together on the Acts2 journey. I'm going to show you a video that our vision team worked on and put together. And they love doing every single minute of it. Don't let them tell you any differently. It was so funny. Twyla's not here. Maybe she's watching online. But when it came time for hers, I actually had to leave the room for her to do her part up here. And outtakes were funny. We probably should have had them on here, but we didn't get to that. But this is our Acts2 Journey Vision Team, kind of laying out a lot of the things that I've just talked about in the last few weeks. We're going to lay it out in under 2 minutes with an opportunity for all of us to decide what is our next step individually. So take a look at this video.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age.
But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, and in Judea, and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth.
Reverence to God, reflecting Jesus, restoring hope.
We dream of a church that's warm and welcoming, friendly, and doing life together.
We dream of a church that is committed to biblical mentoring of all believers.
We dream of a church with opportunity for people to discover their abilities so they can strengthen the kingdom of God.
We dream of a church that is sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit, who equips us to lead a lifestyle of evangelism.
We dream of a church where worship encompasses an authentic, Spirit-filled transformation.
Who are we? What's our mission?
Reach people where they are, love people how they are, lead people to becoming fully committed to Christ.
Let's go do it, church. Amen.
Will you
Join us
on the Acts 2 journey?
All truth, I wanted to take the slap out, and the entire team was like, no, that is you and Amy. You got to leave that in there. Like, that's you guys. So leave that in there with the high five. So, yeah. So, man, today is an exciting day because the commitment that you make today, and I know that maybe for some it's your first time here. Maybe for some you're just visiting, and we're not asking you to leave what God is doing or called you to where you currently are. But to be a part of what's happening now, to move forward, is going to be amazing. And if this is something that you want to be part of, that you want to be part of the Acts 2 journey with New Life Assembly, that you want to be vested in, you want to give, you want to serve, you want to be part of all of these things. You don't just want to come in at, 10:29, sit down and leave as soon as we're done, but you want to be engaged and involved. Then I need you to make a commitment. I need you to be committed today. And I'm going to say something that, if not, find another church where you're going to be committed to this. Somebody like, Pastor, why would you say that with all the growth we've been having? Because there comes time to trim things and to tighten things up and to find out who's part of the vision and who's not. And I get it. This isn't for everyone. And I'm not going to be offended at all if you call me this week, if you email me like, Pastor, I just don't know that I can get on board with the Acts 2 journey. I just don't know that I'm ready for that. I'm not going to beg you to stay. I'm not going to beg you to come back next week. That is not who I am. That is not what it is about. But I want to release you to find that place that God is calling you to be there, even if they don't know that this is what they need. And so this morning, I've asked the entire worship team to come up because I want to end today in a celebratory manner. Is that okay? I want to end today excited about what God is going to have for us. And for you to really evaluate as we just take a few moments to just go through a song, that if this is going to be the place for you. And I thought about doing some great big commissioning or other things. Whenever it came down to it, it's basically, listen, if you want to be a part of this journey, come back next week. I know it's Easter. Some of you may go with family or other things, something, and that's, I get that. I understand that. Then come back the week after because that's the auction, dessert auction. And we need you here to raise some funds for camp. So that's going to be kind of the drawing of the line. Is if you want to be part of this, then come back next week, come back the week after, and be ready to serve. Can you stand?